Hey everyone, I'm Jonas and I'm here today to introduce to you our latest masterpiece in microhelicopter technology. This is the OMPHOBBY M2 V3 Pro. This is the absolute pinnacle of what's currently technologically possible in microhelicopters. We have gathered our combined design and manufacturing experience to bring you the best microhelicopter ever made. And this is it. There has never been anything like it. And you will also not find anything like it for quite a while after this releases. Now compared to the M2 EVO MK2, the M2 V3 Pro is 25 grams lighter, which you can absolutely feel in the air. It also flies for up to 25% longer in 3D flying, which is very significant. It has larger control angles on the main rotor, which means you get more control authority and more control power over the entire flight envelope. At the same time, we have not sacrificed any durability by doing extensive simulations on every single part of the airframe. So if you crash, it's just as cheap as the M2 EVO MK2. So let's take a look at what's new with this helicopter, and the most obvious thing will be the canopy. The M2 V3 Pro now has a new canopy design which matches with the M5, M6 and M7 canopies. Now this canopy design is made to increase the in-flight visibility to the absolute maximum, so you don't have to worry about losing the helicopter in the sky ever again. We have very distinct patterns from the side, the top, the bottom, the front and the back, so you can always immediately tell which orientation you're in. The helicopter I'm holding is our Cosmic Orange, which you already know from M5 and M6. It has a bright orange windshield with dark blue and light blue accents, divided by our beautiful new black lines which we introduced on the M5 and M6 first. Now while orange is always a very safe bet for your canopy, we also have some other options which I think are very compelling, and I'm going to show you these now. This is Velocity Green. It is a bright neon lime green windshield with the same dark blue and light blue accents you have seen on the Cosmic Orange canopy. This one also shows up beautifully in the sky and is a new spin on our classic blue and green canopy design. It has very distinct colors and the neon green really pops in the sky. Moving on, we have Plasma Pink, which is a new spin on the Tropical Pink canopy from the M7, now refined with our black lines and brighter, more vivid colors. It features a bright pink windshield and light green and teal accents to round it off. This canopy is one of my favorites, and it also features a beautiful contrast between the pink and the green for maximum visibility. Whatever we can do to maximize visibility on these helicopters, we are doing it. And the fourth canopy in our lineup is Viper Yellow. Now this usually comes with a yellow tail fin. Because I have run out of helicopters, I just put this canopy on the green helicopter. But as you can see, this fin matches the green and teal accents on this helicopter, which it also does with the Plasma Pink canopy. So you can fly this fin on 3 total canopies. Now Viper Yellow is also an updated design from the M7 with also great in-flight visibility. So now that we've got the canopies out of the way, let's take a look at what's new on the airframe. Starting out with the main rotor head. It is now anodized in black, but not only the color is new, but the mechanical design is also completely overhauled. We've made the components both lighter and more durable, so you're less at risk of bending main rotor parts. Every piece on this rotor head has been simulated and optimized time and time again to ensure that forces from a crash are transferred through the control chain down to the servo arms, which are then designed to brake without bending any of the head pieces. This means crashes are more cost effective and you can be back up in the air quicker than before. We have also optimized the control geometry from the servo to the blades. You can get more blade angle in cyclic, collective and combined pitch, which means that this helicopter is more maneuverable than ever before. This new geometry is also perfectly optimized for our OFS 3 flight control stack, which of course flies the M2 V3 Pro. Another very important part of how a model flies is the rotor blade. These are Apex 190. Now while the shape of the Apex 190 might look familiar, this is a completely different blade. It is lighter and has been optimized in its flap-wise stiffness, which means that this blade not only rotates faster, but it also tracks better in high-speed flight. You can go full speed with the sticks in the corners, and this blade will still track nicely, exactly as you commanded, while it is also capable of rotating as fast as OFS 3 physically allows. This is an amazing blade that flies so well and is so crazy quiet. It is a great evolution for the OMPHOBBY Micro Heli blade series. Moving on to the tail section of the helicopter, the M2 V3 Pro now sports a beautiful round carbon fiber tail boom, which is right in line with the M4 Max, M5, M6 and M7. But not only the tail boom is new, we have also devised a new tail motor mount, which is now braced against the inner walls of the tail boom to increase durability. On this mounts the new Sunny Sky R13X3 tail motor, which is highly weight optimized and physically lighter than the motor found on the M2 EVO MK2 without sacrificing tail power, which is a big step forward in improving the tail performance. This lighter tail boom, together with the way lighter tail motor, improves tail acceleration tremendously. You need way less torque from the main motor and the tail motor, and since torque is proportional to the current in the armature of the motors, this means that with every tail acceleration, we're saving energy, which contributes to the longer flight times of this model. Now the star on the tail of the M2 V3 Pro is the new Apex 45mm tail propeller. Now, while this is the same basic propeller as the M2 EVO MK2's, this is now painted to match the Apex 190 main rotor blades. And the best part is, these are now printed on both sides, top and bottom, left and right, which means you get better visibility of your rotor discs no matter what orientation you're flying in, especially since both of these have big wide tips which show up so well in flight. So let's look at the main frame itself. The frame now follows the same design philosophy as M4, M5 and M6, with a central main plate spanning the length of the frame. On top of this main plate sits a servo rack, just like on M4, M5 and M6, which neatly arranges the servos around the main shaft, so you have an easier time getting to them, easier maintenance and easier wiring, which is very important. The tail boom mounts to the back of this main plate, and to prevent crash damage we have braced it at the top and at the bottom against the rest of the frame. You can see these carbon fiber connectors here going all the way to the servo rack. This is so that if you crash on the tail and get this impact, the force is distributed across the frame, so you're very unlikely to bend the main plate in a crash. And the durability of this helicopter is just as good as that of the M2 EVO MK2. Now on this servo rack we are mounting the DS2710 MG metal case and metal gear servos. We have found in our testing that metal case servos provide better cooling to the servo electronics and increase longevity. And since this is a pro model, which is supposed to be the best of the best, we decided to also give you the best of the best in terms of servos. Now, as I mentioned, the servo layout is completely new, so you can get easier than ever to the servo arm screws. One right up here, the next one right down here, and the rear servo arm you can now easily access by simply sticking a driver through the swap plate guidance column. Swapping servo arms has never been easier on any M2 helicopter, and this means you will get flying in no time when you crash. No need to unmount servos, just swap the arms and keep flying. Now right below this main plate you will find the new R40X3 main motor. This one has also been way optimized in weight. It is much lighter, yet still just as powerful as the main motor on the M2 EVO MK2, which means that this helicopter now has the best power to weight ratio of any micro helicopter out there. This is the most highly optimized power system for any micro helicopter to date. Now the lower frame still consists of two carbon fiber plates, but these now hold a new battery clamping plate, which is injection molded and distributes the force for clamping much better across the cells, so you do not get the indentations you did on the M2 EVO MK2 in the battery. This is a great upgrade and makes battery swaps so much easier. Now below all this we have a newly designed conventional landing gear which is so incredibly durable and flexible. I have not been able to break it in this 1 year that I've been flying and crashing this helicopter. You can see it right here. It just flexes out of the way. Even if you have a really hard landing, this thing just converts the landing energy into heat and you usually will be completely fine. Now the heart and soul of the M2 V3 Pro is of course our OFS 3 flight control system. Now I have made a complete video on the features and advantages of OFS 3, so I'm not going to go into detail here. If you want to see that, I'm going to link it up there and down in the description. This was the introduction video for the M2 EVO MK2, but everything I said in this video, of course, also applies to OFS 3 in the M2 V3 Pro, like the ability to tune the flight controller from the OMPHOBBY smartphone app via Bluetooth, with full parameter access to all PID-F gains, which makes this more versatile than ever. Not to mention the way improved flight performance and the ability to natively use Express LRS and Crossfire, including full battery telemetry, including voltage, milliamp hours, RPM. OFS 3 and the M2 V3 Pro are a match made in heaven. This helicopter was designed for the flight controller, and the flight controller was designed on this helicopter. You're not going to find a combination of those two things that flies better right now or way in the future, I promise that. Now let's talk about battery choice. The M2 V3 Pro comes with the same 3S 750 mAh 60C battery as the M2 EVO MK2. And that is amazing, because this means that if you're already flying the M2 EVO MK2, all your batteries will still fit the M2 V3 Pro. So you can just purchase the helicopter and continue flying with the batteries you already have. Now I've also been teasing the flight time increases we've been seeing with the same batteries. Considering same battery, same rotor speed and same collective pitch angles. In a hover, you will see about 10% increase. So if you've been flying for 10 minutes, you'll be flying for 11 minutes now. The flight time increase improves further the harder you fly, up to 25% in hard 3D. For reference, with the M2 EVO MK2, I used to fly around 2 minutes 20 to 2 minutes 30 before I reached my capacity cutoff. With the M2 V3 Pro, and the same flying style on the same batteries, same head speed, same collective angle, I'm getting over 3 minutes, and that is absolutely significant, and this is crazy. Now you might be asking, how? How did we do this? And the answer is simple. This helicopter is stupidly light. The M2 V3 Pro ready to fly with a battery weighs 320 grams. That is 25 grams lighter than the M2 EVO MK2. And if you imagine you fly 3D, you accelerate, you stop, you accelerate, you stop, you do crazy maneuvers that continuously accelerate and stop all this mass, you're saving so much energy by simply not having to accelerate these 25 extra grams. Also, the main rotor blades, they're way more agile now. So for the same cyclic pitch, you get more rotation rate, which means you need less cyclic pitch to generate the same rate of rotor disc precession, and less cyclic pitch means also less energy expended. Then I've mentioned the tail. The tail is also much lighter, so you need way less energy to accelerate both from the main motor and the tail motor. And that, combined with optimized electrical characteristics of both motors, have enabled us to make the M2 V3 Pro the most efficient microhelicopter ever created, and you will notice that in your flying times. So let's address some questions that I know will come up when I publish this video. What about painted tail booms? Because I know you love them. Well, yes, we are planning painted tail booms for these. They are not going to come stock with them, but they will be available as an accessory at a later time. So how about spare parts compatibility? As I have noted, the M2 V3 Pro is a complete redesign, so very few parts actually carry over. Things that do carry over are the spindle shaft, the main blade grip bearings, the servo arms, and the tail propeller if you prefer other color choices. Now you can use some other parts, like the main rotor blades or the servos, but these might lead to different results in performance. Also, the tail motor mounting is identical, but as I said, the M2 EVO MK2 tail motor is heavier, so you will be sacrificing tail acceleration. So when will these be available, and what's going to be the price? Now we are mass producing these helicopters at the time of publishing this video. They will be shipping to retailers in late May and should be available in early June. The price for the M2 V3 Pro is set as $429 US, international excluding USA due to the tariff situation, and 449 euros for the EU. Now you might say, wow, that is quite a bit more expensive than the M2 EVO MK2, but worry not, it is absolutely worth it. There is so much development effort in this helicopter that it flies completely differently and better in every aspect than the M2 EVO MK2. I can promise you that. It is absolutely worth this price. Now follow-up question, will the M2 V3 Pro replace the M2 EVO MK2? And the answer is no. The M2 EVO MK2 will remain available both for spare parts and for being a budget option in the M2 lineup. The M2 V3 Pro is our new frontrunner, our new flagship, the best of the best. It's gonna lead the lineup, but the M2 EVO MK2 is still going to be available. Next question, can I fly these with my transmitter? And the answer is most likely yes. These will take CRSF, which is Crossfire, Tracer and Express LRS, DSM, which is Spectrum, and S-Bus inputs, which is Futaba, Jetty, Graupner, and even a V-Control will do that. So if you have a transmitter, you can most likely fly one of these helicopters. Next question, how do I set these up on my transmitter? And for that, we have written a 40-page manual for you to consult. This is available on omphobby.com. On the top right, you go to Support, User Manual, and find the M2 EVO MK2 or the M2 V3 Pro section, and you will find the OFS 3 user guide there. This has all the information you need. So please go in, read it, understand it, and if you then still have questions, feel free to ask us. But by reading the guide and understanding it, 99% of the questions that you might have are probably already answered. This saves you time, this saves us time, and that time we can use to develop new products for you. So please do us the favor and read the manual. Thank you. And with all of these things out of the way, there's only left for me to say, very exciting times are ahead. I know I already said this about the M2 EVO MK2, but that was with the back of my mind already on the M2 V3 Pro. Because this is the new pinnacle of microhelicopter technology. This thing flies so good, you have to try it. If you have flown the M2 EVO and the M2 EVO MK2 and you have noticed the jump in performance between these two, imagine the same jump from the M2 EVO MK2 to the M2 V3 Pro, but airframe based. It is that good. And I cannot wait for you to try it. I'm generally so happy that this is out now and that you are able to see this, to buy this, to fly this, and to give us feedback. Your feedback is so important. Without you, we could not have done this. So thank you for all the feedback you gave and keep it coming. So keep an eye out on your favorite OMPHOBBY retailer site and pre-order this helicopter as soon as you can, because you do not want to miss out on this. That's it from me. Enjoy your new M2 V3 Pro. See you in the next one. Bye bye.